It was 1985. A dark night, a crazy professor stood next to a kid watching as a car vanished, leaving nothing behind but twin trails of fire. Back to the Future had just hit theaters, and the world was mesmerized by this kid's journey through time. At that very moment, in a different part of the world, I was about to take my own journey, one that will shape my entire future. My first personal computer had just arrived, an Atari 800 XL. And the first time my older cousin showed me how to write a single line of code, my mind went straight to one thing. Could I make my own video game? Call me optimistic. That machine wasn't built for flashy graphics, but it didn't matter because it sparked something in me. I devoured every book my cousin handed me about basic programming. My mission, to create my own Back to the Future game. It wasn't easy. The technology was limiting, the code was complex, and the graphics, let's say, there were none. My game was purely text-based, relying on command inputs for exploration. But fast forward to today, everything has changed. I became a professional in the gaming industry, and after testing countless tools, I can tell you this. You don't need to learn code to become a game developer or creator. And in this video, I'll show you the best way to do it. But first, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified every time I post a new video about Unreal and how to build a career in video games. I spent years teaching game development, but now my focus is on helping you break into the industry with the Game Creator Accelerator, a lifetime mentorship to guide your first steps. Want to learn more? Email me at tony@woolun.com or check the description. Now, let's dive in. The first question is, why do I refer to Unreal in this video title instead of mentioning other engines like Unity or Godot? Well, the reality is because I am assuming that you want to be a professional in the gaming industry. I've been interviewing a lot of people throughout the last months that are possible candidates for the Game Creator Accelerator. And what I found out in many occasions is that they are trying to build a career in Godot or Unity and trying to find opportunities there. Yeah, probably for Unity you can find some. Definitely, I found them, but in Godot you're always going to look like a person that is a hobbyist, not a person that would be a professional in the gaming industry. If you want to talk about professionals, really professionals in the gaming industry, then the only option that you should consider is Unreal. And I know many people will disagree with me over all the people that hasn't tested Unreal yet and they are playing with Unity. I was there, guys. I was in the position where I was the creator, the developer in Unity, until one day a good friend recommended me to test Unreal, and everything changed. From that moment on, it's like stopping or waking up in the Matrix. Everything looks different and you can do literally bullet time. This is the power in Unreal, and the reason why I mentioned this is the best engine to start in the industry as a professional. But even though if you are planning to create your own video games as independent, it is also the best platform to do it. 100% of my peers, and I have to include myself, those that decided to move from Unity to Unreal never came back to Unity. The reality is that Unreal provides so many opportunities, not only in the gaming industry, that you can't see reasons to go back to Unity. On the other side, the salaries and the opportunities for jobs in big studios are higher if you know Unreal. I know that not everybody's ready to be unplugged from the Matrix, but believe me, if you allow me to be your Morpheus, this is going to be something that will reshape your life. It is true that programmers in Unreal uses C++ to create fantastic gameplay mechanics for video games. But it's also true that Unreal provides you with a fantastic platform to create gameplay mechanics without writing a single line of code. This tool is called Blueprints. Blueprints is what we call a visual scripting language. That means that you can create components like boxes that you connect one with another that emulates the same thing that you will do with C++, only that in this case is totally visual. The good thing about Blueprint is that first, it's very easy to use. It is a fantastic tool to prototype rapidly and effectively, and you can create projects literally from zero until the end only using blueprints. And let's go beyond. Let's say that you don't want to create gameplay mechanics. This is not the role that you dream to be part in the gaming industry. Let's say that you want to be a level designer, game designer, environmental designer, or modeler. If you know blueprints, you can set yourself apart from the rest of professionals in the industry. Previously, we created a video about how to install Unreal. You can find it in the description for this one. I'm going to use the projects that we created there to introduce you to blueprints. This is the template of the third-person game that we created on the previous video. If you click here on the play, you can play your game. Now, the first thing I want to clarify is that the concept of blueprint in Unreal refers to two different things. The first one is the blueprint as the visual scripting language that Epic Games created for Unreal. The other is that there are objects inside your projects that are also called blueprints. What is even more fascinating is that objects that are blueprints uses blueprints as the language to control their actions. For example, let's check this. If you go to the content browser and look for the folder called third person for the projects that are third person, and look for the blueprints folder, here you have two blueprints. It is not the goal of this video to present the details associated with this. It's just to show you how blueprints works or how blueprints is presented. Let's double click on this BP third person. And here you can go on this tab to the viewport and see the object associated with this blueprint. But also, if you click on the event graph, you will see then the boxes that I mentioned a moment ago that are blueprints. These boxes are the ones that will control the actions, the code associated with this character, with the player character. And you will see here that there are three particular that are interesting. The first one is the event begin play, which is an event that happens at the same moment that you start playing the game. Another is the camera input. And here, every box that you see on a blueprint is called a node. And here you have another node, which is the enhance input action. And this is associated to how you are going to move the camera up, down, right, or left from respect to the player. And finally, you have the movement input. And this controls, as you can imagine, the movement of this character. Connecting all these boxes, all these nodes, will allow you to not only have control of this character, but also of other elements, other actors that are in the scene. When you start your Unreal project, you will be prompted with a default scene. You can also create different scenes for your project, selecting this option of new level. The scene is where you are going to place all the elements that the player will interact with. You can only have access to one scene when you are working in Unreal, one scene at a time. And that scene can have multiple objects. Going to the folders here in the content browser, I will go to content, and I usually create a folder that allows me to keep order of everything I create, and start with underscore, and usually games or game could be as well. Now let's say I want to create a blueprint object. So I can right click and look for the option called blueprint class. If you click the blueprint class, you will be prompted with common types of blueprints that you can create. Let's start with something pretty simple, which is just an actor. In the detail, you can read, an actor is an object that can be placed or spawned in the world. So select actor, and here create the blueprint for this actor. Because it is a blueprint, we usually call it BP, and let's call something actor 1. And if you double click this object, now you have your blueprint. If you get to the viewport, you will see that this object is totally empty. But now you can start adding properties to this object. These properties that you add to an object are called components. And at this moment, you'll see that we only have a default scene root and nothing else. But let's say that I want to add a mesh. So I look for the mesh, and here I select the static mesh. You can call it static mesh or you can call it SM and refer to the static mesh in particular. Let's say this is going to be a cube. And in the static mesh, I will look for something called a cube. Fantastic. Here I have several options. I will pick this one. As this component, you can add as any other components, as many components as you wish. And this is something fantastic because right now you are creating properties by adding components to this object without using coding. To the right, we have a section that is called the details. Let's say that I want to change the color of the surface for this cube. I select the mesh component and look for material. In material, you have one parameter which is called materials, and you can change this material to any other materials that is provided in this project. Let's say I'm going to change it by this brick. Now you have a new surface that you assigned to this property, to this component of this blueprint. Once you finish, you click here where it says compile, finally save, and then let's go back to the scene and let's drag the new object we created. Let's play. And here's the new object you built a moment ago. Back to the blueprint of this actor, you can also click here on the event graph and define actions that you want this actor to do during gameplay. This is the place where you start working with coding without writing the code in C++. It's just connecting boxes one after another. In this case, the code that you will add using blueprints will control only this actor. Let's close this actor and this one for a second. In every project, you also have a blueprint associated with the level that you are playing. To access it, go here and select Open Level Blueprint. Let's right-click and look for a node that is called Event Begin Play. This event is called once every time this level is presented. My goal now is to present a message on the screen, something pretty simple, as soon as the game starts playing. From this execution pane, I'm going to drag and look for another node. In this case, I'll look for a node called print string. What does that mean is as soon as this game starts playing, this event will be called and the sequence will be executed one after another. In this case, the first thing is going to happen is print string. And for saying something, let's go to the classics and say hello world. Now compile, save, and pay attention to the screen here when we start the game. Here it is. Hello world, and disappear. Going back here to the node of the print string, we can set as well more time for this. In this case, we can change this parameter instead of 2 to, let's say, 5 seconds. Compile, save, and go back and play. Now here's the hello world. It's going to last 5 seconds before disappearing. Now, drop in the comments what kind of game do you want to make. If you're struggling to find job opportunities in the gaming industry, or if you are in search of a methodology to change your career to video games without leaving your current job, I'd love to help. Reach out to me at tony@woodland.com or check out the description for more information and options. If this video added value to you, like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss tips and tutorials on Unreal Engine and how to build your successful career in video games. And if you're ready to take your first step, be sure to check out this video next on how to install Unreal Engine 5 and start 3 games. Until next time, keep creating, keep sharing, and most importantly, keep dreaming big. I'll see you soon, my fellow creators.